Thank you for joining us for episode 49, Relationships in Astrology. How you doing, Walter?
Pretty good. How are you?
All right. Dee may join us a little later on. She has the previous engagement. Today we have a returning special guest, astrologer Barbara B. You guys may remember her from the Uranus episode. How you doing today, Barbara? How's
Hey.
Uranus treating you?
Much better. Yeah,
Oh,
much better now. It's in opposition to my sun, but it's applying to my moon soon. Yeah. So I got a little bit of a reprieve. Yeah.
wow, y'all, we got some high level astrology talk. What you know about that, Walter? Did you understand what she just said?
Yeah. I was just trying to. You're a Scorpio sun?
No, I'm actually it wasn't in opposition. I misstated. It was conjunct my sun. So sorry about that.
Oh,
But
okay. I was like,
conjunct
wait,
my
I think the last time I remember, she was in Aries, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
sorry about that. It was
No,
conjunct.
it's okay. Okay.
Um, and now it's applying. I have a Scorpio moon, but it's applying to an opposition to my Scorpio moon.
Hey, listen, it's in opposition to my Pluto, so I kind of understand what you're going through.
And I was thinking because I have Uranus in my ninth house in Libra, so I was thinking about it there in opposition because
Okay.
naturally it's separating, but it's 26. It's like 26 degrees.
So, so you have a natal Sun Uranus opposition.
Mhm.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, so people come into your life kind of like,
Well,
Yeah,
well, it's
yes.
interesting that you said, hey, people come into her life because in all actuality, this is what this topic is about: relationships.
Mhm.
And what is relationships, Walter? People coming and going in and out of your life. Um,
yeah, relating to others.
yeah. Um, Relationships can bring out the best in people, and it also can bring out the worst in people. Straight beast mode. um, People fear intimacy. Would you say that? Would you agree with that statement or disagree with that statement?
I would say it depends. I maybe for the majority, but it really depends on the natal placements, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. So when it comes to relationships I just want everybody to know this. When it comes to doing readings and stuff, um, the relationships is in the top 3 questions asked to astrologers.
Always. I would
Yeah,
say I would say top one.
you think that would be the first one?
Yeah, because I mean, at least for me, I've always received people that one of their first questions is, so what am I compatible with?
Hmm.
What, is, what would you say, Bob?
I get that too.
Well, just for the record, what do you think this 2 and 3 would be then?
Just about themselves. People like to hear about themselves when you look at their chart. They want to see if you can get them right because there are a lot of people who are sometimes are in disbelief that about astrology. You may think that's a lot of mumbo jumbo until you start saying things about them that you've never told them before.
Hmm. The other one for me would be career and money.
Yes,
Mm.
I would agree.
All
Yeah.
right. Um, Quick question, Barbara. When it comes to if somebody comes to you and asks you about relationship, what's your go-to?
Well, I first ask them what kind of relationship is it? Is it someone you're dating, or is it a marriage, or a long-term relationship? And long-term, I would say maybe I want to say 2, but I'm going to say 3 or years or longer. Long term.
Oh, you break it up like that?
Yeah.
Wait, 3 years is long term?
Well, that's really kind of that's a good little while to be dating, to be in someone's life, you know. But to be honest, I would say if it depends on the relationship. If you're not married, that's 5th house. If you're married, that's 7th house. But sometimes some people show up as 7th house because they've been in relationship for so long that they start, just at least in my experience, maybe showing up as like 7th house characteristics.
What do you think about sun sign compatibility?
I think sun sign to sun sign, just in terms of synastry at a high level, I would say sun sign to sun sign to moon sign, rising sign to sun sign, rising sign to moon sign, and vice versa. Like, and then sun and moon, and rising aspects to like the North Node, and Saturn.
I have so many questions now, but I want you to finish, Paul.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait. Everything you just said, you take into consideration when talking about a relationship?
Yeah.
To somebody?
Yeah. I mean, I look at Venus and Mars too, but that's just like, you know, Venus for a woman, or just in a person's, you know, perspective, it's like Venus is how you love. And then also, depending if it's like same sex. So if it's same sex, then that matters too. Just in terms of the characteristics or qualities of the person that you're attracted to, I look at your Mars and Venus. Yeah.
What do you think about Venus contacts with the ascendant?
I like that. I think just for long term, you know, I wouldn't look at it in a kind of
like a fling.
I wouldn't even call it a fling, but I wouldn't necessarily think that it was a major like contact, you know.
Okay.
But it's a good thing, because I think that if someone's Venus hits someone's ascendant, then it depends on, it could go either way. So they could find that person really, really beautiful, or just they just want to experience the good things with them, you know. So they could just adore that person, or vice versa.
Would you say that would switch depending on the sign that's on that?
Probably. Obviously, there's variables to everything, right? Because the condition of the Venus is important. You know, if the Venus is at home, in its home sign, if it has, or it's in fall and detriment, or if it has difficult aspects to another planet. We get deep in it, so it could be.
Okay, I was about to paint this out. What if that Venus is in Virgo on the ascendant?
Again, Venus is not like my top go-to. So I would look at that again for Venus for a man. If a man's Venus was in Virgo, I would say, and they, you know, were interested in women, I would just say that you're looking for someone earthy, probably very self-directed, because it's in the first house, it's Aries, right? That's typically the Aries house. So I would think that they're interested in a person who has somewhat of an Aries characteristic, someone who is who likes to serve, or maybe has a healthy type of lifestyle, very natural. I would just look and think about those qualities and characteristics, just in terms of what they may or may not be interested in.
All right. Now, my next question is, your response to a man with Venus and Virgo in the first house would be different to a woman with Venus and Virgo in the first house?
I would look at a woman's Venus as how she loves or likes to be loved or gives love. But if she were interested in a woman, then I would say then it would be someone much like her. Because if she was a Virgo rising, then and it depends on yeah, because that would be a Virgo rising. That would be the seventh house. Seventh house would be Pisces, and then so Venus rules the second house, and then it's going to rule. Where's Taurus going to be? Taurus is going to be in the ninth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I would think that would be. It would describe the ways I look at the houses in which Venus rules, as to also kind of give more information about how the person loves or chooses to be loved. Or if it's a woman who is, let's just do, non-same sex, just opposite sex. I would just look at it that's how she loves and gives love. And then the houses that Venus rules would add more color to that.
Right.
Venus to me. And it also for me, when Venus is on the ascendant, or any planet is on the ascendant, I also think about how the person looks. So I think it would impact the person's looks, too, because it's the first house, and the first house represents the self. Walter.
Oh, no, I'm taking in what you're saying. The reason why I asked the Venus contact question is because I recently have I've seen that it's a very exact degree contact to the ascendant with Venus, and then a slight, almost exact contact, Venus, the ascendant, and the North Node.
So the North Node is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The North Node is in. It's a trine, so the North Node is in contact to the ascendant, off by 1 degree, and then the North Node is in contact to Venus, off by 1 degree. But then Venus and the ascendant are exact.
Okay. Wow. And so Venus, for this particular, is it a person or is it someone?
For these two particular charts, Venus is in Leo, right, at the 29th degree, and it's trining an ascendant at the 29th degree.
So both people have Venus in Leo.
No. The other person has Venus somewhere else. But
Okay.
but one person's Venus is trining the other person's ascendant. And then the Venus person's North Node is also trining the other person's ascendant.
Well, that's definitely a harmonious, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's making aspects to the North Node.
And then both people have the same moon sign, off by like maybe 4 degrees.
Okay. So for me, I would give more weight to the synastry, to the North Node and the moon signs versus just the Venus. But you asked about the Venus, so now that it has greater information, it makes sense while there's an attraction or why they're connected.
I have a question. Do you look at which one do you look at the most, synastry? Do you look at composite charts?
No. I took a class in that, and I've done it for myself, from my ex-husband and a person that I was seeing. And I've also looked at like meeting charts too. But no, I don't really look at composites charts unless it's like a long-term relationship. For me, composite charts are more valuable for long-term relationships, because it's like you're joined together. Now how do we blend together? I mean, obviously you can do a composite chart with any two people, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be in long-term relationship, but that's sort of how I was trained, so I only look at it in that way.
And that would be 3 or more years.
Yeah, I want to say longer, but I was really being generous.
I like the composite
what,
charts.
but what would you, what if you wanted to say longer? What would be that number?
I'm thinking in terms of Saturn. Sevens and Saturn are important. So a 7-year relationship, long term.
Says the Aquarius rising.
The Saturn itch right there.
I'm a Saturnian person, so yeah. Because
Okay.
that's why I said Saturn too, in terms of synastry or just looking at relationship points, because Saturn wants to lock things down.
So, you know, let me tell you something. The relationships with Saturn squares, they're mighty interesting. Look at your face.
Man, I have some synastry with some. I have my person has Moon in Pisces with Saturn in Pisces as well. Moon and Saturn.
Oh, a Moon and Saturn person.
I have a Saturn Gemini. So we have Saturn Moon contacts, and also my North Node, their sun is in Gemini. And so I have a South Node in Gemini. So the nodes contacts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What's your stance on twin flames?
That's a good question. I think just in terms of like, I'm going to be nice. So I think that we all, I think we all have I think we have soul contracts, right?
Well, is it okay? There's a difference between soul contract, twin flame, and a soulmate.
Well, you know, it depends on what the definition you're using for like a twin flame soulmate. But I think
I'm just asking yours. I'm rolling with yours.
So for me, broadly, I would just say that we have soul contracts with people, and some of us were meant to be, you know, in long-term relationships, and then some people are just meant to come in for, to be cliche, a reason and a season, you know, and then they leave. But it's the whole point of it is to advance our soul, our you know, 'cause I think we reincarnate, and with each incarnation, we're here to just grow and advance our soul until we don't incarnate anymore. That's just my belief.
So yes or no on twin flame?
I mean, I don't believe in twin flames. You're just gonna press me on that. I mean, I think that we
of course he's a Virgo. He needs that technicality coming up.
I just think that we have soul contracts with each other. You know, we travel in soul pairs. I think, you know, in past lives, the three of us have been something to one another. In some form or fashion.
I could go with that.
Yeah, tangentially, there's a book that I read that has had a huge impact on that perspective, is Many Lives, Many Masters by
Dr. Brian Weiss. I love that book.
Yes.
A great book.
Yes.
And there's a follow-up. Only Love Is Real.
Yeah. Well, Only Love Is Real, or there was another one that I had that didn't have that title, but so he must have more than 2 books.
I recommend Only Love Is Real. You'll like it.
Okay. I'll have to get it on audio.
I do have down here that each relationship brings a different experience out of yourself.
Absolutely. Some to, you know what? It's all about perspective, because you can look at things as good or bad, but it's all to grow us, and whether we like it or not, you know, so a lot of times we have to just get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable, which is like those squares and oppositions, those, you know, they're there for a purpose. You know, obviously the oppositions, we have to strike a balance between them, right? And then the squares, it's just like, those squares, oh my gosh.
I agree exactly with what you're saying, because I have actually often found myself in relationships where I have had people around me where there's a lot of oppositions and squares. It and this isn't in any sort of relationship. I mean, Paul and I have a lot of oppositions, right? But we're not in an intimate relationship. But in the intimate relationships, I think it takes a little bit of extra effort from both parties to really want to be uncomfortable in the uncomfortability.
Yes, you have to push through it, push past it. Yeah. And because it always feels, a lot of times just feels tense, or I think it pushes you to advance, to figure out, like, to really kind of go deep, like, what is going on here?
Hey, I actually have down here, some of our highest highs have been connected to some relationships as well as our lowest lows, but we keep coming back for more. Why?
Because we are spirits living a physical experience, and so that's sort of the point. Until we crash and burn, die, basically leave our skin and return back to our original form. That's the whole point. It's like getting up and trying again, getting up and trying again, getting up and trying. And a lot of times, I felt like right now, I feel like I don't know if I would want to get married again. But that's just today. I could change that perspective tomorrow. It could be something just, because I'm also partly Uranian, right? So and so the thing is I say that, Paul, because obviously we know, because we're astrologers, that we have our birth chart, right? And our birth chart is the main storyline. And then the transits are like the subtones, the subtopics, and the stories that happen in between. And then all the regressions and all that stuff, those are all like little sub stories. And those things those sub stories, or I'm trying to relate it to like a movie. Chapters or
scenes.
Whatever. Scenes, yeah. There's other characters and scenes, and so there's layers to a movie, right? And all of those sort of add perspective to the life of the individual, to the default program code that is the natal chart. And
Go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
Oh no, actually that is it. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, ask you this question. How many relationships end because they're having too much fun?
How many relationships end because they're having too much fun?
Yeah.
I ask you that. What do you think? I've never thought that. I would never thought to. Right. I mean, I said it was a trick question.
Yeah. None. Yeah. Well, I mean, none. But here's the follow-up question. How many relationships end because of unrealistic expectations?
I think that's a key contributor to a lot of relationship endings. I think I don't have the data, but when you hear about two people, our friends, we all have had people talk about their relationships to us, or family members, or whatever the case may be, and and I think that that's always like well, not always, but it can be a key contributor to it, outside of this like unfaithfulness, or money. So
have you sometimes in reading, have you ever have somebody say this? You like delineating their chart and you tell them what it means, and their response is, well, doesn't everybody? Yeah, and anyone ever said that to you?
Yes, and I think I kind of touched on that in the beginning of how when you guys ask about like questions, people ask you about their natal chart, and then you start and people want to hear about themselves because they want to see, because they maybe are disbelievers. But yeah, I've heard that too. They say that, oh, that's just general, that's just general. And some of it may be true, but it may be more applicable to the person that you're describing because of the placements that they have.
Yeah, and that has happened to me. Like for instance, let's just say, hey, you have I'm talking to a female, and I said something about, she has an attraction might have an attraction to guys that have money and stuff like that. And her response was, I feel that's every female. And I was like, no.
Just that part. See, when I hear generalizations like that, and I try to catch myself if or when I'm, being general in that way, it tells me that person they need more experience, more with other things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, and my response to that person always is, whatever thought that you have that you think, doesn't everybody? You need to go ask a whole bunch of people that question.
That's a good point. That was probably a good response.
You will quickly find out. No, and there. Like one time, I asked someone with the moon and the 12th, if emotional outbursts at times leads to their self-undoing, and they said, no. Well, I feel that's everybody. And I was like, no, that's not everybody.
And it's funny you asked that question. My mind just went to, that would be someone who hides their emotions. 12th house.
Hey, that look, in a relationship, if you're hiding your emotions, what's that mean?
You can't be. You're undoing it, but you can't. I don't think it's good to be in a relationship where you're not emotionally vulnerable. Just to go back to the.
Wait, why? Why you need to be in a relationship that you're emotionally vulnerable?
Well, I feel like there's a reason. There's a picture that you have in your mind. So let me just say this. Describe it in this way. I think emotionally available and vulnerable, to be able to, because your person, I think you should be able to expose yourself to your person. You should be your person. There should be safety in being able to expose yourself to your person. And if you can't, then that can lead to repressed or suppressed things. You can bottle things up, and that's when the whole emotional outburst, or just something seems like out of nowhere comes, and the relationship dissolves. So I think it's important to have that in relationships.
I agree.
Do you think people should want a soulmate relationship?
I think that, so from my personal perspective, I listen to, are you both familiar with Abraham Hicks?
Yes.
So I listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks, and she kind of helped give me this perspective. A lot of times in life, based on our experiences, we learn what we don't want, right? And that does lead to what we do want. So, gosh, I forgot your question. I was going.
Should people really want a soulmate relationship?
Okay, so essentially, I think that based on all of my past relationships, I've learned things that I didn't want, and learned things that I loved and liked, and also maybe have even thought about things that may have been missing. And so I've literally scripted. There was one particular recording that I heard of hers, and someone asked about relationships, and so she inspired the person, and I then got inspired. she inspired the person to just write out what the person wanted in relationships or just in life, and called it My Life Relative to Abundance, and to really just tap into the feeling of what you really wanted. And I was just started being very descriptive and was writing it out, and it brought me joy. So I think we should be keyed in on what we don't want. And because having a soulmate relationship is a very broad statement, I think you have to be very deliberate and intentional and specific about what it is that you want. And it's not saying, people being picky or whatever, but like one of the things is like being supportive of one another's, ideas and perspectives, right? And supporting each other through that. Having a home that's filled with joy and laughter, or just, continuity, just ease, being descriptive. You can be even more descriptive than that.
I'm glad you used that adjective, ease. Yeah, because I'm tell you what I got down here for soulmate too. Walter, Walter, you want to say your opinion on soulmate? You think relationship?
I think every relationship is a soulmate relationship. I think even
that person that checked me out at the grocery store.
Yeah.
All right, keep on.
Yeah.
Keep going.
No, I think ultimately, I think if you're referring to soulmate in terms of romantic relationship.
All right, let's go there.
Okay, so if you're referring to romantic relationships, I think even more, it's kind of difficult to not have a soulmate relationship, right? Because I think if you want to go very deep into, spirituality or how soulmate would interact in a romantic level, the romance is going to be off the charts, right? There's going to be this feeling of home, this feeling of ease to some extent.
Well, that's not what I have down there for soulmates.
Now let's hear what you have down there.
Yeah,
that was on the tip of my tongue. I wanted to answer the question.
Hey, you scroll through social media and all that, and you watch people, and they always say, "I want to sub my soulmate." And sometimes I say, do they realize that soulmates kill each other?
Do they?
Oh yeah, because a soulmate relationship.
Literally, you think so?
Okay, so watch this. Because a soulmate relationship is here to help alter our soul. You think that's an easy process? What if that person wants to buck it and fight the altering of that soul process? What can happen? Now we go into placements of planets.
I think it also depends on what timeline your soul is in, because what if you're on a timeline where you're cruising,
and what if that person isn't?
Then it's not going to work out at that time and place that you're in. It could happen later. You can meet later.
So it's funny you that analogy or that story you told, it brought me back to an analogy that I used for someone I was seeing, and the story, the analogy that came to mind about that person, just in terms of like killing each other. Have you both seen Avatar, the first one?
Yes.
Jake? No, you haven't?
I haven't.
Okay. So the main character, Jake, he was human, but he basically took on this avatar.
Oh, wait. Yes, I have Avatar with the blue people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I'm sorry.
And so there was a part in the scene where he had to choose his the flying animal, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. And the main character, Zoe Saldana's character, she said, he asked, how did the relationships between the bird the person connect. And so she said, you'll know because they'll try to kill you.
Interesting.
Right. And so basically that the big badass bird, excuse my French, but that was there basically, who basically ran the sky. Jake ended up being Jake's bird, but he tried to kill Jake before he made the connection. And once he finally made the connection, connect the tail, it was smooth sailing. So there's maybe some relevance that it may feel like you're dying, because there's so much, going on up and down, that until you finally make the connection, the bond, sealing the bond, then things begin to smooth out.
Would you Go ahead.
No, I think it's interesting that you say that, because for like a few months I had like this feeling that I was dying. And then there was a person that entered my life. So I think it's interesting that you just said that.
Wow.
The feeling of death, it's not a pleasant feeling, let me tell you.
Do you think someone can identify their soulmate using astrology?
I think anything is possible, but I would rather go by feeling, only because my chart is predominantly air and water, and a little bit of fire, no earth. So I'm either thinking or feeling, right? So for me, I like to, it's all about the feeling. So it's all about the feeling versus looking at a chart and saying, oh, I think this person might, because if we're talking about having seen the person, having met the person, looking at the chart and saying, oh, I think we're meant to be together, I feel like there had to have been some chemistry that exists to bring two people together. And I think we all kind of know when there's a strong magnetism that happens between you and another person. I think we can all sense and feel it.
Barbara.
Yes.
Are you a hopeless romantic?
No. My Venus is in Pisces. You would think so. But no.
Well, progress is probably either Aries or Taurus right now.
It might be. I have to look.
I'm glad you asked that question. Would you do synastry with using progress charts?
I haven't, but I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, and how did that come out?
Well, I've done it for myself. No, I mean I see connections, and it's interesting we're talking about progressions, because earlier today I had like this thought that even the progress chart follows some pattern in the natal chart, right? So like even if some planets move a little bit, eventually they move right back to where they were natally, just in different signs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's like how I see progressions, is like another layer of a clock overlaid, and so it's just that clock moving around and touching certain aspects that is the default code. But yeah.
I do have a question. Do you use asteroids?
No. I mean, I was trained to, but I haven't seen a lot of. I just don't use it. What about you guys? Do you guys use asteroids for synastry?
I look at Lilith. I've looked at. I've focused on some Lilith Mars placements.
Lilith Mars. Why? Interesting.
Because I've seen it and I kind of dove deep into it, and it interested me a little bit, because it was pretty much the delineation on that. It was like a very high intensity sexual connection.
I was gonna ask you that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Were there any other connections that their Mars had, and was it like hitting another?
Mars. Yeah, there was a connection between Mars and Mercury. a connection between Mars and Saturn. See, the Mars and Saturn, I'm not gonna lie, they scare me a little bit sometimes.
I have a Mars conjunction. Yeah.
You have a Mars-Saturn conjunction?
Well, applying. So
So do I.
my Saturn is a critical degree, but Mars is 3 degrees away from it.
So do I. I have Venus sandwiched between Mars and
I have
Saturn.
a question then, since y'all talking about conjunctions. What do you think about a Venus-Mars conjunction in a chart?
See, that could be a high sex drive, depending on like where the placement of it.
The fourth.
Well,
Taurus.
What about a high emotional drive?
That too, but that could be that, and hopefully.
By the way, that would be Venus and Mars conjunct in your chart in the fourth, because that'll be Aquarius rising.
Yeah. So, because Venus is strong in Taurus, right? So the Venus person, whoever you're talking about, this person having both of those placements.
Yeah, conjunct. Yeah, in the fourth.
Okay. And so
well, if you want to just throw a little spice on it, near Chiron.
Well, there could be, so near Chiron, the wounded hair. So if it's a male, since Mars could be the Venus, there could be like a disease or something like that too.
Well, it's a female.
It's a female. She could have some, but it's a female. So fourth house. So she's an Aquarius rising too.
Yeah. What would you tell yourself if you had this placement?
What would I tell myself if I had this placement? I always feel like your questions are kind of trick questions.
No, it's no trick to it. It's no trick. I'm just so basically I'm a Gemini rising, Virgo sun. So basically you call me the magician. I'm not the trickster. I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, I always get that sense. So because Mars rules my 10th house, right? So and then my 3rd house. It could be she could have been like sexually abused by a sibling potentially. And
what if that didn't happen?
What if that didn't happen? Maybe this person works at home, because 10th houses could also be like a career thing, or maybe her father, maybe sexually, because it's on the parental axis, right? But Venus rules, if this is an Aquarius rising person, then Venus rules her 2nd house and her 9th house. So that's value, her sense of self. No, not her 2nd house. Her Venus rules her 9th house and her 4th house. So 9th house is like faith and church and school and education. And I don't know. So her Venus is strong, but the Mars is in fall. So it could be something about her siblings, maybe living with her. Or a parent, living with her, or her working at home or something like that, or doing things at home. But we're talking about synastry?
No, just the natal chart.
Okay.
Speaking of, what would I say about it? Probably tension in the home. Probably from the father figure or something like that, or the mother figure, really, because something.
That has to be mom, yeah, too.
Yeah, I do have a lot of self-studying people that listen to this show, and they sitting back thinking, well, what should I do to find out about my relationship? So if somebody who's just looking into their chart and just trying to find out stuff, what would be your advice to them wishes.
For relationship stuff.
Yeah. If they just trying to find out about their love language, like what motivates them in love, their attitudes towards love and sex and stuff like that.
Venus and Mars for sure, and then how they communicate, and just in general, because obviously communication, we all communicate with each other, so communication is important. So, and then how that aspects the other person that they're seeing. Communication is hugely important in relationships. You know what? One of the things I've done to kind of, I feel like this is on a tangent, but it's relevant well, let me say it like this. Since I learned astrology, I've like tried to dig into the charts of the people that I used to date. Or was married.
Actually, I had that question down here to ask you. Would you advise people to look at their exes, like go back in time and look at their exes?
Absolutely, because you can start to see patterns. You can start to see patterns of who you're attracted to, and because I'll talk to people like, oh man, I'm always attracted to Geminis, or Geminis are attracted to me, and I'm like, because you have a North Node, or you have Saturn there, or or in this, that's why, or you have Mars or Venus, and so that explains it to me.
So wait. So you hear that question, you hear that statement a lot. Hey, this sign, man, there's a lot of this sign around me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
Yep,
I hear that too. And so what it, you just said because of this and because of that, but what does that actually mean to somebody? You said, because your Saturn's in Gemini. So somebody with Saturn and Gemini, and they get surrounded by Geminis, what is the universe trying to tell that person?
Because Saturn likes to lock things down. Saturn likes quality over quantity, right? It's just it's a long-term energy. It's a very serious.
Wait, say that again. Saturn likes
quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Because you think about like Saturn and Jupiter are opposites to me. They're, Saturn is subtraction and Jupiter is adding. Jupiter is expansion and Saturn is contraction.
You would make Saturn and Jupiter opposite?
Yes.
That's funny. I actually didn't think about that. I was thinking more like Saturn and the Moon are opposite. I mean, they're the antithesis of each other, but
for sure, I agree with that.
But I like that. I like that you saying that they're opposite, Saturn and Jupiter.
Yeah, for sure. So Saturn.
Well, wait. Why are they opposite? Why do you see them as?
Just by their characteristics, the qualities that that they share archetypally. Saturn wants to build over time, right? It's like it's in no hurry to be in a hurry.
No hurry to be in a hurry.
Right.
Very good statement. They should put that on a shirt about Saturn. Yeah. No hurry to be in a hurry.
No hurry to be in a hurry.
I'm gonna borrow that one now.
Go ahead. I say it all the time. Go right ahead. That's big time Saturn energy. And so but Saturn likes to lock down, like especially like Saturn Moon for sure. Because, and I'm glad you said that, Malta. For sure. And the thing is that Saturn and Moon have similar transits time-wise. Saturn is 29 and a half and Moon is like 29 and a half. Days.
Yeah, you're right.
Days to years.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that in relationships, and I say this also because our friend here, Paul, has a Saturn in Gemini, and for a while he found himself surrounded by a lot of lunar Geminis. And I think the Moon people come to the Saturn people to soften them up a little bit and to be like, hey, like chill out, here's some emotion. Let me thaw you out a little bit here, because you're a little icy.
Maybe.
Who? Me?
Yeah, I think he's talking about you. But
Saturn people.
but but the thing is,
Well, it is in my first house, so.
and that's really, I think, the point that she's making, because you have Saturn on your ascendant,
He's
right?
very Saturnian. Yeah, he's a Saturnian. He's a Saturnian Gemini.
Yes. So
Most Geminis have that childlike, youth-like quality, and I'm not saying that you don't, Paul, but you're more serious about. You're probably serious about having fun too, you know?
Yeah, and
Hey,
I am too.
Well, I play mad and I'm trying to win.
Yes.
You know, I've told guys before, hey, tell me what y'all think of this statement. Hey, y'all really should get, you worried about your girlfriend's sun sign. You really should get more familiar with her moon sign, because in a relationship, women are more in that emotional space than anything.
I agree. My ex-husband and I, we had moons. My moon fell in his 12th house. So, and when someone's moon or if anything falls in your 12th house, that's a blind spot. You know, so I think he couldn't, just emotionally, we really kind of didn't.
Wait, hold up.
He's a Sag rising.
Wait, hold up. Who's it a blind spot to?
The person whose 12th house it is.
The 12th house person.
Yeah, the 12th. No, the 12th. Yes, the 12th house person. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So your moon would fall in his 12th house. So he had a blind spot in terms of of how you emotionally reacted. So yes. he couldn't get it.
Yes, and the same. My daughter's the same way, and a lot of times some doesn't get it. But the thing is also, she has a Moon Pluto conjunction in her first house, so that kind of gives it a scorpionic energy. But a lot of times she misses my
as in they can't quite understand why that is triggering you, or why that is making you feel, you know, some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I'll just say this, Barbara. I never really look at synastry charts that much, but you're making it sound interesting. I'm thinking to myself, Paul, maybe you need to start looking at more synastry charts.
Synastry charts are amazing.
I'm shocked as much as you know, we talk about astrology. I'm shocked that you haven't done that. But I'm just like surprised. Not a bad thing. I'm just like, wow, as deep as you have gone, that I've learned that you go, that
would you like to know why?
Please tell us why, Paul.
Because why are you asking me about somebody else when you really don't understand yourself? Hey, let's get you to understand yourself first. Then maybe we could talk about somebody else.
So,
but if you ain't starting to work on some of the shit that you came down here, these lessons and all that shit, what does it matter if I tell you about this in a relationship? You just gonna act the same and do the same shit.
Well, here's the thing. I think that you know your chart at this stage. I think you know your chart pretty well. So, but I don't know if you've looked back at some of your, you know, current or past relationships to see where their planetary placements hit, and what potential, you know, things were of ease or difficulty between the two of you. Yeah. And that could, you know, just kind of foreshadow some things in the future.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't talking about me personally. I was just talking about people that come to me for a reading.
Oh, okay.
God forbid the Scorpio moon ever gives out information about himself.
Right.
I mean, no, I've looked at me and exes before. I've done that personally.
Okay.
But if somebody's coming to me for a reading and they don't understand their Saturn, their North Node or whatever, why should we even be talking about you in a relationship?
Okay. So you're attracting people who've yet to learn their default program code. So once I think people have done that and they learn, I think in the process they begin to learn astrology.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they can sort of expand the horizons and start thinking about synastry in the process. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, once you really understand that Venus in fall in the 12th or in the 6th, you know what I'm saying?
Figure out how they're showing up in relationships. What they're bringing that may be a detriment, Venus in fall, or detriment
Hey,
to
okay, I got a
because they
question
might
for
be
you.
thinking it's the same. It's the other person. No.
I got a question for you, Bob.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to get somebody to explain a hard aspect and a blind aspect to somebody? Was it easy or hard for them to see it or admit to it?
I think it may be. Sometimes having paradigm shifts there's layers to it. I think you and I had this conversation recently. Paradigm shifts. When I was talking about how there's initially when there's disbelief, and then they realize like, oh my gosh, this is a real thing, and then there's that cognitive dissonance that kind of comes into play.
Hey, I just had the experience of cognitive dissonance 2 days ago. Keep going. Hey, and this person wanted to fight.
Like
a male or a woman?
Yeah.
Like scrap? Like fight you with their fists?
Damn near. It could have damn near came to that if I wouldn't have been like, this is silly.
Yeah.
But keep going.
But yeah, I mean, I think that so to answer your question, it can be an issue if the person isn't really open enough to see, be ye transformed. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. I'm not really religious.
Say that again.
I'm not really religious, but it's like a scripture. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's biblical, and I take that literally. Like we have these mental downloads that transform us, and we have to be able to be open enough to allow that to happen. And I think the person has to be in a state of self-reflection, a state of self-evolvement, and willing to evolve and grow. To be able to be open to saying, okay, well, that could be I could be causing this. I remember when I had that revelation.
That you was actually causing something?
Yeah, something. Yeah, because I'm Saturnian, right? And so Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. So it's like, Saturn rules my 12th and my 1st. So it's like there are things that I do that are self-undoing. So maybe like the lack of planning or lack of consistency of, doing things step by step and constantly and building, because my Saturn is not strong. It's in Gemini, right? Even though it's kind of neutral, but it's have you guys looked at it's what you use when I have to pull it up, where the planets are rated in your natal chart?
Yeah.
The essential dignities chart.
Essential dignities,
yeah. I think my Saturn is one of the weakest planets in there.
I was
it's rated. Yeah.
Have you actually are you familiar with Demetra George's book?
I know who Demetra George is, but I don't think that I I haven't read her book for sure.
Well, I was going through it, and she makes you give your own planets grades like that.
She makes you grade your own planets?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she has a workbook where you pretty much grade your planets.
Yeah. So what they say your Saturn is, you may not see it that way.
Why was that beneficial? What does she think that is the benefit of us self-rating our planets?
Well, if you have to write down that, if you have to acknowledge that, oh, my Venus is in fall or detriment, which is not a good place. And then you got to factor in the house that is, hey, is this a good house? Is it one of the bad houses? Is it the 12th? Is it, the 8th, the 6th? Is it in the, once you start bringing in all of that stuff, and now you got to give it a grade. Is this Venus? Hey, you got to bring in, is this you got a feminine planet? Is it in a masculine sign, very masculine conditions? Is this Venus happy or sad? That's pretty much what I say. Happy or sad. A sad Venus or a pissed off Venus is going to act a certain way. Mm-hmm. But when I'm doing this, I got to do this for other charts too.
Okay. So, yeah, I just think maybe for me, it's kind of like horary. If I'm trying to read a chart for myself, I don't feel like I can. Do you both know what horary astrology is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for the people that don't know, go ahead.
Yeah,
explain.
Okay. Horary astrology is casting a chart based on a question that you have, and you cast the chart. So if I asked right now, if I lost my shoes that I was looking for, and right now it is, at the time of this recording, it's 4:02 p.m. on Saturday, April 22nd. So I cast a chart and look at the chart, and I look at the placements of what house my shoes represent, and I look to see where my shoes are and if I find them, right?
Wait, you got people out there saying, wait, what?
What house is
looking for your shoes?
Yeah. Yeah.
So people are gonna be like, I'm just gonna cast a chart looking for my keys.
Yeah, I mean, but reason they're saying is you could do that?
Yeah, you can. We're going on a tangent, but I actually did that for a friend of mine. She had lost her key. She lost her keys. and she had texted. She had a group chat for her friends, and she was like, "I've been looking for my keys for 2 hours." So, and at the time, that's all she said. And at the time, I thought that she was still looking for them. So I cast a chart. I said, "Where are her keys?" And I said, "Okay, they're in." So her keys are in Aries. It was like the planet was in Aries, and it was near, I forget, there was something else. So I said, "Look for something hot, metal, red, or whatever." And so she had found them on her ironing board under her red t-shirt.
The keys would be what, the sun?
No, I don't remember what so the second house would be where her possessions are.
Oh, okay.
And her second house was Aries.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you like horary astrology?
I do. My teacher, I learned a lot through him, and so basically, just in terms of being, going back to the Demetra George thing. I'm glad you said, because I was like, what were we talking about? I don't always feel like I can be objective. So if I'm asking a question that is something related to me, I'll ask someone else to answer or look at the chart instead of looking at it myself.
Wait, you don't think you could be objective when it comes to
myself?
Yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
there's something in horary that I'm asking. I'd rather someone else look at it.
Yeah, well, hey, therapists have therapists. Walter's my astrologer.
Okay.
And I'm hers.
Okay.
Pretty much. I mean, we delineate stuff for ourselves, but then we say, hey, what you think of this?
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think it's very difficult to be objective with yourself, especially when it comes to something like this.
Yeah. So just in terms of rating my own planets, bringing it back there, I didn't feel like I could be objective. I'd rather kind of take in the subjective, I guess, of how someone else has rated my planet.
Well, when I was going to tell you, when I was learning, I had to try mine, but I'll just let you know, it's a lot easier grading other people's planets than your own.
Yes, exactly. That is the point. So it's like, that's why I asked the question, like, what did she seek to get out of it? Because I think a lot of times we might be like, oh, I think I'm great, or we might be harder on ourselves, and then that might be a good planet that is like highly rated in the chart. So yeah, but just going back to like Saturn and like 12th house and self-undoing, my Saturn is in my 5th house. So, and when we're talking about like, part of my maybe self-undoing, maybe, it's in Gemini because it's kind of weak. It's an immutable energy, and my daughter just said to me the other day that I don't plan, but that's her perspective, because where's my Saturn in my 5th house with my South Node? So it's like, and Mars. So it's like, sometimes I like to just kind of go with the flow. I have 3 planets in Pisces. That's very Piscean.
Wait, you have Mars, Saturn, and the South Node all together?
In Gemini, yes.
And Venus as well?
No, just
no?
those. All
okay.
I think they're 3 malefic energy.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. I can relate to that though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but when it comes to relationships, is there anything you want to add before we go?
I think you made some good points. Know thyself first, because we need to know how we show up in relationships. So knowing your chart and knowing if you have, looking at how you communicate and your values and how you like to love. Mercury is your communication planet. Venus being what you value and how you love, the sweet things in life, and Mars being your drive and your energy, maybe even your sex drive as well. Knowing those things and looking at the aspects in your own chart to see if there's tension within, and then sometimes we project outward. And if we can say, okay, this tension is already here in me, right? And this is the energy that I know that I'm bringing to a relationship, but you have to be able to be open and honest with yourself about your energy.
Did you just say the aspects are more important than just the planets' placements themselves?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They're important because the planets is in our own chart is the energy, right? But I like to think planets are people, places, and things. People, places, and things. So how my code is, my default code is in my chart, what that is and how it is typically or generally expressed. Can you change, or can it like evolve, especially if it's like you're in the lower vibration of it? But over time and through your life experience and you getting to know yourself more and more, and obviously with progressions and what else did we talk about? Those transits, those can help with any difficulty that we have in our placements. But then the things that maybe have been easy to us all our lives, based on the trines and the sextiles, there might eventually be something that a planet that comes in and forms a difficult aspect where it's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I've never had to try before, because, things kind of just come, with ease with those placements. They can kind of sometimes make us a little lazy, but the squares and oppositions drive us to really work on things. So knowing yourself, and then knowing how you communicate what you value, and then look at synastry. So I want someone whose moon is if it's not in the same moon or I want it to be in trine or sextile to mine, theirs. So my moon is in water. So my moon is in water. So I would love for somebody to have another water moon, right? A Pisces, a Cancer, or Earth, or an Earth sign.
Or the same moon. Would you want them to have the same moon sign as yours?
I wouldn't mind that, because especially with my moon in Scorpio,
it hits different.
It hits different because a lot of times you don't. It's like Scorpio energy. You can talk, you can speak without speaking, and there's just like this innate knowing and awareness. And sometimes we don't want to have to explain stuff. It's just like, don't you just get it?
Mm-hmm.
You just get it. Yeah. Paul's got the straight face.
He knows. We actually just had this conversation not too long ago where I told him, I was like, two people with the same moon sign, it's like wow, like it's just so different.
It's just easy. It's just easier. But you can also feel the intensity of it.
Absolutely. I personally have had a lot of relationships with moon and Pisces people, obviously conjunct my sun, but square my moon. So
your moon is where?
My moon is in Sag.
Oh, okay.
So I have a natal sun moon square, but and for a really long time I thought that Pisces moon Pisces sun contact was so otherworldly, and it really was, mm-hmm. but because of my Sag moon, ultimately there was a square. It didn't feel, it didn't feel quite how I would have wanted it to feel. I don't know if that makes sense.
Because is it because you are, so there's a part of you that wants, well, no, that's a double Jupiter energy.
Yeah. And
so
my Jupiter's in detriment though. Well, fall. It's in Virgo. You delineated my sun and Jupiter very well actually once.
I did. What did I say? I don't remember.
You talked to me about how I was a very Jupiterian person, and like Jupiter ruled my sun, my moon, and then it's in my sixth whole sign in Virgo.
Okay.
So it was kind of like in fall, So
where's your Mercury then? Because Mercury rules your Jupiter.
My Mercury is in Pisces.
Okay. Wow. So they have mutual reception though.
Yeah, they do have mutual reception.
That's good. So they help each other out.
Yeah, but they're off by like Jupiter and my Jupiter and Mercury are off by about 7 degrees.
But the thing is, your Jupiter is in Virgo and your Mercury is in Jupiter. So
my Mercury's in Pisces. So yeah, they're in mutual reception to each other.
Yeah. So it's almost like, so what do you feel like was off? Was it because either you wanted space or you wanted, because Sag kind of like is.
It's funny you say. It's funny you say that. I've always had this urge to merge. I do have Pluto in the 8th.
Okay.
Which so I'm an Aries rising. Mars rules my first. It rules my 8th. Like I have this, and it's right next to Venus, right? So it wants connection a lot all the time.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think my moon in Sag has always needed like space, and it's not that I haven't had space. I think I said this once to Paul. It's that some of those placements that I've been in relationship with Pisces people, or I've been in relationship with heavy Pisces placement people, and it sort of gets to a point where there's an idealization, right? Not just of me, right? Maybe of the relationship, or perhaps the relationship becomes all. And I like people that have passion, but I don't just want them to have passion for me. Right. I want them to have passion for something else. And I think to some extent, I want that passion for something else because I'm so Martian. It's kind of like am I competing for this passion? Not that I'm literally in competition, but it gives me this edge of, okay, like this person has passion for something else, not just for me, you know, like I should also have passion for something else, you know, so it drives me.
I love that. And I think we all should have interests apart from one another.
Yeah.
All should, and I think that's a healthy way to be in relate. This is just a personal perspective, not necessarily history. And the thing is giving you space, but also still space to be you in who you are and whatever you want, wherever you want, and then, but also, I think that will pull you closer to that person.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh, well, they're there. They're going to be there. They're going to let me be who I am, you know, do whatever I want and not feel threatened or anything. And the love is still there.
And the love is still there. Yeah. And I'm sorry. But no. It's what I was going to say is I was going to circle back to what you said about the Mercury Jupiter reception. Mm-hmm. You know, for a really long time, I don't know where I got this from, but for a really long time, I thought I was terrible at communicating. And I've learned recently and through some experience that I'm actually not that bad at communicating.
I feel the same way. We'll come back to you in a second, but I feel it because my Mercury's in Pisces as well, but it's in square to my Saturn. So I was sharing with Paul. Sometimes I'll just blurt it out. Like a lot of times I don't want to sound stupid. You know, I kind of fear the things that I say, because Saturn also represents your fears.
Right.
And I want to make sure that what I'm
saying,
you
don't want to sound stupid.
You don't though.
Thank you.
That means that you practice for a really long time sounding smart.
Yes. And it's funny because I didn't even realize it until I started learning astrology. I remember me saying that I was attracted to people who are really good communicators because I wanted to be better at communicating. Mm-hmm. I was very much attracted to people.
I love Virgos.
Yeah.
All right. I do have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Well, 3. Before you go on a date with somebody, do you look them up?
So no, I haven't had to do that because anyone that I've been in relationship with have come to me, it's in a sense, you know, I don't really I don't actively seek out relationships.
All right. Next question. Would you look at a chart and be like, oh, hell no, I can't mess with this person?
It's funny. I think about that when I'm doing that, like looking at other people's chart. I'm like, we wouldn't be compatible. And I do that with like people with cancer placements. Even though it would be enshrined to my moon, you know.
It's the emotional manipulation for me.
Yeah. Oh my God. Real. And then they get mad, like, we really going on this hedge. Then they get mad when you see them, you know, because that Scorpio moon, like, I see you. Like, you're not fitting to do that today. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week. No.
And the last question is, when you hear someone says, I hate this sign, what goes through your mind?
I think that it's something more, you know what? I think that they need to learn astrology more. It's more than just the zodiac side. There's something else in the charts that are causing the friction that has caused that person to have whatever experience they had to lead them to say that. I think it's not just sun. It's for me, sun is surface.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just say this, and my response to them is, hey y'all, stop hating a whole sign because of an X. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, that X is not representative of that sign. Maybe you was dating an unevolved
Scorpio
or you know, Virgo or whatever. and you need to get up with a high vibration of that energy, maybe you'll see that energy in a different light.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
All right.
I totally agree.
With that being said, are you doing readings for people yet? I mean, could you don't want, because usually I say, hey, how could people contact you? But you might not want people to contact you.
No.
We're on the same boat here.
Right. Yeah, they can follow my page, but I don't really post. I don't post that much. But I just like to. I like for the most part. I've just been like talking with people. I like having natural conversations with people about astrology. I like expanding people's awareness, especially with people with Capricorn placements, because and Virgo placements. A lot of times they are the doubters. That Earth energy. Like, I need proof. Material proof. Prove it to me.
All right. Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was done.
I was just gonna say, how can people get? What is your social media so people can follow you?
On Instagram at I am living water. I am living water.
All right. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank you for coming through today, Walter. Any last words on relationships and astrology?
Well, this has been
here's your soapbox. Go ahead.
I actually don't have one today. No, I'm very appreciative and grateful for this conversation. As always, Barbara, you've left me with an expanded mind to go out and seek out more information, and I love synastry, so I've very much enjoyed hearing what you have to say.
Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me on Instagram at Walter.
All right. And y'all know how you can get in touch with me. I am astrologyreadings@gmail.com. I am astrologyreadings.com. Follow me on social media and all that. I really would appreciate it if you like, follow, share the show with 3 of your friends and cousins. Send it down the line. Hopefully Barbara will come back and see us. I think she may want to talk about one of Walter's favorite subjects,
which is
astrology and the stock market.
Ooh. Oh yeah. Well, I follow you on that as well.
Well, hey. and with that being said, you know how I end this. Know thyself, balance your energy.
I have a question. 2, 1, 2. Whatever should we do? What? You diving in the sinking. Splash. These niggas get to tweaking. You don't be telling me. Who are you, man? You read my energy? You get the ecstasy? I started off with questions, and then it's number 2. Things on my mind, why this, why that, what should we do? The questions led to searching, these diving in the seeking. Profiles get to leaking, these niggas get to tweaking. You don't be get to preaching, you don't be telling me that my Veda's in the stars, you read my energy. You got the recipe to get the ecstasy. I'm shifting gears on the things that you won't believe. Now people don't deceive, they saw some Christmas Eve. It's from the start, that's why you trap, you stuck, you cannot leave. You best be on your knees, confess your sins of boo. Don't have no question, have the face you trust, you told the truth. You think you can't be slanted, you think it's just be blinded. It's warfare, the bombs explode, collateral damage. I manage to maintain, to explain. We here to evolve, but ain't no damn thing changed. I am astrology reading, man. I have a question. 2, 1, 2. Whatever should we do? What? You diving in the seeking. Splash. These niggas get to tweaking. You don't be telling me. Who are you, man? You read my energy? You get the ecstasy? On the thing that you won't believe. 1, 2, 3. You stuck, you can't go nowhere, man. Confess your sins on both on your knees. You trust, you told the truth. You think? Slanted? Planets. Collateral damage. I manage. We here to evolve, but ain't a damn thing changed. I am astrology reading, man. I have a question.